Chapter 553 1,000-Year Emperor. Shorty gulped. He had spent lots of years in the land of the undead, yet every time when night arrived, his heart would start pounding heavily. Even when he was away from the ancient capital, he would still experience fear and uneasiness at night. "Eat the ash garlic now," Shorty reminded the group. The woman in black silk and her two companions did not hesitate. They immediately ate the ash garlic. Lu Ru had also eaten one, only Mo Fan was still struggling to make a decision. The sound of something grumbling with their mouth filled up could be heard coming from the ground. Mo Fan turned around and saw a head full of worms poking out from the ground. Its eyes were dangling out, same with its jaw. It looked like the thing was stuck in the ground, only its head coming out of the ground, with its body still trapped beneath. Its reaction when it saw Mo Fan was like a starving human who had seen a golden chicken wing. It desperately tried to wriggle its way toward Mo Fan. "How dare you try to harm your grandpa, Mo?" Mo Fan kicked the head of the undead without mercy. The head was likely not attached to the neck. The kick immediately sent the head off as a projectile. The skull ended up slamming into a rock and splattered everywhere. The sound of many deep moans surrounded him. Suddenly, a huge section of the ground broke apart, revealing a huge tomb less than 10 meters away from Mo Fan. The tomb seemed fairly aged, even the cement had begun to rot. The half-corpse, half-skeletal creatures inside the tombs rose with bloodshot eyes after being summoned by the head that Mo Fan had kicked. The bones of the creatures were fairly black, implying that they had been poisoned to death long ago. Meanwhile, the tools scattering across the place implied that they were buried together with some general in ancient times. Mo Fan initially thought there were over 20 of them, yet there was a burial cave beneath the tombs the skeletons were appearing from endlessly, each covered in blood and with a savage look. Mo Fan's fist instantly erupted in flames as he swung it in the air. Since the skeletons were all coming out from the cave, he could simply blast the cave with his fiery fist. "Mo Fan, look around you!" Lu Ru immediately shouted. Mo Fan turned around and saw 7 or 8 tombs just like the one in front of him less than a few hundred meters away. The skeletons were gathering like soldiers. Their eyes were staring at the only person that was still exhaling living breath, like stars in the sky. The sight was so stunning that Mo Fan instantly stiffened in place. "Actually, the thing doesn't taste as bad as I thought." Mo Fan threw the ash garlic into his mouth with the worst expression he had ever made. Shorty grinned disdainfully. He glanced at the skeletons surrounding them and said, "We should probably leave this place as soon as possible. It must be the grave of some minister during the Qing dynasty, judging from the number of people and workers that were buried with him. It's almost at the scale of an emperor's tomb. We can easily deal with these skeletons, but those ministers were strong magicians when they were alive. If they actually turned into undead generals, we're pretty much dead. Can you please stand further away from me when you speak?" added Mo Fan. The effects of ash garlic were almost instantaneous. The foul breath was so extreme that even the undead would accuse them of not brushing their teeth. Any undead who were obsessed with cleanliness would simply avoid coming close to them. The woman in black silk spoke for the first time as the group was weaving through the packs of undead. Her voice was so pleasant that it felt like a melody descending from the sky. The only thing lacking was emotion, or perhaps her otherworldliness was the reason why it was so alluring. "Is it always like this here?" she asked. Shorty was surprised by the question, and quickly answered. "Not quite, but since the drifting sand river became restless, the presence of death here has grown stronger, too. Some say that the new era of the undead has arrived. It's possible, since if the undead has a new ruler, it's reasonable for this to happen." "A new ruler?" asked the black silk woman. "No one has seen him before, but everyone knows he exists. They call him the Undead Emperor." "Rumors say he was the emperor of the Tang dynasty," Shorty replied quickly, showing off how knowledgeable he was. "How many years has it been since your Tang dynasty?" asked the black silk woman. Shorty was startled. Mo Fan's eyes flickered too. He finally noticed something from the woman's speech. First, she was not a local. No wonder her Chinese sounded unnatural. Over 1,000 years, Shorty did not specify the actual year. 1,000-year emperor, the woman mumbled to herself, without asking any further questions. The woman did not ask further, but Shorty was trying to show off. He added, "Exactly, the undead's strength is dependent on the years they have lasted. The longer they exist, the stronger they are. It is impossible to tell what kind of monster will be born after being nurtured by the presence of death for 1,000 years. The history of this world was the same as the world he came from." The knowledgeable Mo Fan immediately recalled that the Tang dynasty's capital was here at Xi'an, too. If this whole place had turned into the land of undead, it was possible for the emperors during the ancient times to turn into undead too. These goddamned emperors in ancient times. They have been dead for so many years, yet they still want to conquer the underworld and our world at night, cursed Mo Fan. It's common to build an emperor's tomb at places deemed favorable through feng shui, so it's not a surprise that they would turn into undead after absorbing the energy of the heaven and earth. Everyone is saying that the undead has a new ruler, which I find very amusing. It sounds like they knew who the ruler was before. I bet even the undead don't know, let alone us humans, replied Shorty. Is there really no one that has seen this ruler of the undead before? Asked Lu Ru. Shorty shook his head and said honestly, even the strongest magician has never met him before. Speaking of which, a few foreigners who claimed to be from the Holy Judgment Court, each of them a strong magician, did not come back alive. I heard that they all ended up turning into undead. Those foreigners only know how to add to our misery. Shorty suddenly realized that the black silk woman was not a local, too. He corrected himself with a hollow laugh. I'm not referring to you. It's fine. I'm happy to hear jokes about the Holy Judgment Court. The black silk woman's eyes flickered with a hint of gloating. Holy Judgment Court? Mo Fan felt like he had heard the name before. A magic organization in Europe, in existence similar to the Enforcement Union in China. The Enforcement Union was responsible for arresting and executing evil magicians. However, the Holy Judgment Court's purpose sounded like Ultraman, to protect the world's peace. I will probably meet some of the people from other countries' organizations during the World College Tournament, Mo Fan mumbled to himself. Chapter 554 The Vanished Sunny Goat Village. The area around Shanxi was always covered in thin sand. Rumors said that the sands would be absorbed by the undead-like nutrients after being exposed to the presence of death for some time. Along the journey, Mo Fan did discover quite a number of undead were collecting the white sand that had stored some energy of the moon and death, like trying to scoop up gold in waves. These undead were a fair distance away from the outer walls of the city. They were roaming aimlessly, trying to find anything useful for themselves, like scavenging bones and body remains that were chewed up by wild dogs. With such an effective way to avoid contact with the undead, doesn't that mean they aren't as scary as we thought? Asked one of the companions of the black silk woman with a thick beard. Ash garlic is harder to find than gold. They simply cannot be planted, as they only grow in bunches at places crowded with undead, relying on the dead as their source of nutrients. Only the people from the villages outside the walls know how to retrieve them. However, the number of ash garlic produced every year is limited. If it weren't for my brother here, who's a half-blood from one of the villages, there's no way we could get our hands on them, smiled Shorty. The muscular man also wore a smile, his eyes sneakily cast a glance at the black silk woman. It was likely that neither of them had ever seen a beauty like her before. The Sunny Goat Village is not far ahead. The night is still long. We should rest there for now, said Shorty, pointing at a hill nearby. Every village has its rules. You all should obey them if you're planning to enter one, the muscular man reminded them. The group nodded in agreement. They successfully arrived at the hill. As they proceeded down the hill, everyone was expecting to see a human village right in the middle of the land of the undead. However, as they glanced down the hill, all that was left between the rivers and the mountains were piles of logs. There was no sign of a village. They quickly glanced in other directions, yet all they saw was black soil. There was nothing else, apart from a few lower grounds leading to some caves. Are you trying to trick us? Snapped the man with the beard. I have no idea what's going on. Shorty seemed dumbfounded, and glanced at the muscular man. The muscular man's eyes were filled with astonishment, too, as if he could not believe his eyes. He started running down the slope. Not a single hut could be seen among the piles of logs scattering across the place, let alone a village. However, the muscular man acted as if he had gone mad. He completely ignored the zombies that were roaming nearby. "The map did say that Sunny Goat Village is right here," said Lu Ru, after she checked the map. "Yeah, it's impossible that the map is wrong. I swear I wasn't lying," blurted out Shorty. "Where's the village, then?" "I don't know. Unless." They were easily convinced that Sunny Goat Village was supposed to be here based on the reaction of the muscular man. Yet, the entire village had somehow disappeared. If there were still fences around the boundary or debris and stuff scattered across the place, it would easily prove the existence of a village prior to their arrival, yet all that was left were some logs, and the rest was pitch-black soil, nothing else. "Does this mean that the village has fallen victim to the undead, too?" asked Lu Ru. "Perhaps. Maybe the new ruler of the undead didn't bother giving any face to these locals." The group headed down the hill and discovered that the place where the village was supposed to be had obvious burn marks. The piles of logs were likely used as the fuel. A soft breeze swept a cloud of ash into the air. "There isn't any dead body, but there are burn marks everywhere." "It's hard to tell what happened here," the bearded man told the black silk woman. "Even if anything happened, we won't see any corpses here." Mo Fan pointed at the undead roaming nearby. "The villagers would have turned into undead if they were dead." The place was covered in ash, and it was impossible to see any trace of blood. "What should we do now?" said the black silk woman's other companion. "We can only head for the next village, but if the next one is also the same," said the black silk woman. Shorty nodded as he shared the same thought. Mo Fan and Lu Ru had no other suggestion, hence they both nodded in agreement. "Let's go, come, you won't find anything here. It's likely that they have moved, don't lose hope yet," Shorty said to the muscular man. The muscular man was rational enough. He proceeded to lead the way when he realized that there was no trace of the dead villagers nearby. The group departed for Wa Village. "It will take us around 2 days to reach Wa Village from here. We were supposed to rest up at Sunny Goat Village during the night to preserve the amount of ash garlic we have. It looks like we'll run out of them on our way to Wa Village," said Shorty sternly. Obviously, the shortage of ash garlic was a very serious problem for the group. Shorty suggested the group return to the ancient capital first and wait until the muscular man could get more supply of ash garlic from his people. However, the muscular man implied that he would need at least a few months to get more. "Forget it, it's going to waste too much time if we head back now." "Just lead the way," said the man with the mustache. Mo Fan and Lu Ru had the same thought, too. It was impossible to tell what would happen if they were to drag things on further. "Don't worry," the black silk woman said. She glanced at Shorty and said pleasantly, "I realize that not all areas are crowded with the undead along the way here. We'll try not to rely on the ash garlic later, unless we're surrounded by too many undead at once." "That sounds like a good idea," said Shorty. Mo Fan nodded too, exclaiming inside, "It's rare to see a busty woman with a brain." At the black silk woman's suggestion, the group did not eat any more ash garlic during the second half of the night. When they were around 3 to 4 li away from Sunny Goat Village, they could feel the unfriendly gaze from the undead nearby. The undead were roaming around aimlessly in groups of 2 or 3. They were mostly zombies, nothing extraordinary apart from their terrifying looks. "Here they come," hissed Shorty. A zombie who was using a rock to grind his teeth seemed to have scented human flesh. His head rotated stiffly and his green glowing eyes locked onto the black silk woman, who was the closest to him. The black silk woman's eyes did not show any emotion, not even the usual panic and disgust an ordinary woman would show when facing the filthy creature. Her companion with the beard stepped forward. An icy star pattern appeared under his feet like frost. "Ice lock." As the man raised his hands, the frost produced a thick chain. The chain lunged at the zombie that was trying to attack the black silk woman and immediately tied him up. "Bone husk." The man clenched his fist, controlling the ice chain to clench tightly. Chapter 555 Giant Corpse General. The sound produced when bones were crushed gave the group goosebumps. In a few seconds, the zombie had simply turned into a lump of frozen meat. Although it did not die completely, it was no longer able to move. "Ali, don't waste your energy," said the black silk woman when she saw the man with the beard used an intermediate spell to kill a mere zombie. The man called Ali immediately performed a strange gesture in a seemingly obedient manner. "By the way, we've spent a long time on this journey, yet we still don't know what to call each other," asked Shorty with a chuckle. He was long aware that the woman's identity was nothing ordinary. Yi Menge, Yi as in Yi Zi, leaf, Meng as in Meng Jing, dream, and E as in Inuo, elegant. "You can call me Menge." The black silk woman seemed fairly serious when introducing herself, as if she was afraid that she would make a mistake. Mo Fan chuckled when he heard the name. "Is this a Chinese name you just came up with?" The black silk woman did not answer the question, but asked, "Is there something strange about the name?" E as in Inuo. Menge, it's rare to see a Chinese with this name. To be honest, Kuewa sounds better. You can even add it to your surname, like Elizabeth Kuewa, to show that you're knowledgeable in both cultures, Mo Fan said wisely. Shorty, the muscular man, and Lu Ru were Chinese, hence they almost vomited the ash garlic out when they heard Mo Fan's words. The guy was simply pulling a joke on the woman from foreign countries. Meanwhile, the black silk woman nodded as if she had learned a great deal from it, assuming that she would consider Mo Fan's suggestion. It was most likely that her two companions were not Chinese, either. It was impressive enough that they knew how to speak Chinese, but they would never understand the meaning behind the name. "Don't listen to him, sister, you have a nice name." Lu Ru quickly betrayed Mo Fan. The black silk woman giggled. She did not seem too bothered by the joke. Can we call you that, too?" asked the man with the beard, Ali. The black silk woman simply cast a glance at the man, who immediately shrugged, not daring to say anything further. Along the journey, Shorty and the two subordinates following Menge were dealing with most of the roaming undead. They were quite lucky, as they had yet to stumble into a burial ground. The group remained safe until dawn was approaching, allowing them to preserve the ash garlic. "One more hour until daytime," said Shorty, glancing at his watch. "I thought the undead of the ancient capital are terrifying, yet aren't they just a bunch of brain-dead zombies?" said Ali with a grin. "Bro, please don't say that. The land of the undead is cursed." "You shouldn't say something like that," said the muscular man. Ali continued to wear his grin, simply ignoring the warning. The ground ahead was loose and fully pitch black. Meanwhile, the sky was covered in thick clouds. Suddenly, a bolt of lightning flashed across the sky, instantly revealing the dull, stormy clouds connected to the pitch-black land into the distance, as if the group was walking in endless darkness. The air suddenly felt a lot heavier. Thunderclaps began to echo above the clouds, followed by huge raindrops falling to the ground. Their impact was strong enough to splatter the mud. "Shit, it's raining," cursed Shorty. Right after he finished the sentence, heavy rain poured down, followed by flashes of lightning refracted across the sky by the raindrops. The water was pouring heavily. Stepping on the loose ground suddenly felt like walking in mud. Another flash lightning flickered in the sky, revealing a blood-red tide sweeping in their direction. The water splashed close to their feet out of nowhere and scared the group, yet the heavy rain was preventing them from seeing what was ahead. They could not tell whether it was time for them to eat the ash garlic. "Quick! The rain can wash away the foul breath from the ash garlic," the muscular man told them. "Does that mean the ash garlic is ineffective on rainy days?" asked Mo Fan. "That's right." Mo Fan instantly felt like swearing, but the rain was too strong. He was totally not in the mood to complain, as he had to find a shelter from the rain as soon as possible. "Do we seriously not have any water magicians?" asked Mo Fan. Unfortunately, no one responded. A water magician would have cast water barrier, circulation on everyone in the group, preventing the rain from touching them. The two subordinates of the black silk woman reacted quickly. Even though they did not bring an umbrella with them, they quickly took off their jackets and used them to shield Mage from the rain, highlighting her extraordinary identity. Damn it, the blood water is rising. It's most likely that there's a powerful undead nearby, Shorty interpreted based on his experience. Are you serious? Look at this rain. We would simply be covered in mud trying to fight here, grumbled Mofan. What did I say? This land of the undead is cursed. Don't say anything stupid, the muscular man blamed it on Ali's smart remark. The group moved forward through the mud at a gradually increasing pace. The place they were currently at was in a valley. They had no chance of finding shelter, unless they headed for the Kindling Mountains. The demon beasts in Kindling Mountains did not welcome humans. It was likely that they had already preheated the oil and pot, and were only waiting for humans to walk into them. Suddenly, roars that could make one's heart pound heavily came from their sides. Lu Ru was the closest to the sound. She turned her head around and immediately shivered in fear. In the midst of the rain, a strong zombie like an ox came closer, with Lu Ru as its target. The creature had a few arms, each holding a rusty hatchet. The raindrops washed the bloodstains on the hatchets away, making the creature look even more terrifying, as it was impossible to tell how many humans had the hatchets killed. The creature had a body as strong as an ox and hideous limbs, yet most terrifyingly, its enormous body had a tiny woman's head whose hair was dangling messily in front, with a sinister, evil face under the hair. The woman's head opened her mouth and uttered a blurry, unpleasant scream. Why? Why did you leave me? The voice sounded completely out of place. Even though it was speaking a human language, it was filled with the extreme hatred of the devil. Holy crap! Who the heck are you? Mofan quickly pulled Lu Ru to his side. The group stared at the hatchet corpse general, goosebumps rising all over their bodies. It was impossible to tell how many dead bodies were used to construct the hatchet corpse general to give it such a hideous appearance. Corpse general. It's a giant corpse general. We're done. It's over. Shorty stared at the corpse general in fear, fighting a strong urge to flee for his life. Chapter 556 Fighting the Corpse General in the Rain. Shit, lots of zombies are heading in our direction. They seem to be following this corpse general's order, yelled Ali. Don't panic. Ashing, Ali, you two handle the zombies, said the black silk woman, Mage. Her hair was soaking wet from the rain. Even her black veil had almost fallen off from her attractive face. Everyone thought they would never have the chance to see her face because of the veil, yet she did not seem to be bothered. She tore the veil off and threw it to the ground, revealing a jade-white, perfect face. It did not turn out to be a full Western face. Without taking a closer look, it did not have any huge difference compared to the looks of an Eastern woman, but her eyes were glittering like stars. Her eyelashes, with raindrops dangling at the edges, were extraordinarily attractive. Mofan had long dreamt of seeing her face, and his wish had just come true. Yet since the filthy corpse general, serving as a great contrast to the woman's beauty, was standing right before them, he had no time to indulge in her gorgeous looks. Mage seemed to know Mofan's strength. After sending her two subordinates to handle the zombies, she quickly went up to Mofan and Lu Ru and said firmly, "We'll deal with it together. Run, run you fools. There's no way you can fight against a giant corpse general." Shorty still showed a slight bit of conscience by not running for his life straight away. Shorty had spent years in the ancient capital. He was well aware of how terrifying a corpse general was. Most undead were servant class, yet even a team of intermediate magicians could easily be overwhelmed by their numbers. However, agitating a corpse general was closer to a death sentence. The corpse general could summon all the undead within a kilometer to it. Even if they were able to kill several hundred undead, there was no way they could hold off thousands of zombies rushing toward them like a surging current. A corpse general would be a nightmare for intermediate magicians, let alone this giant corpse general before them that had been nurtured by the land of the undead for decades. Normally, only advanced magicians could handle a giant corpse general. Even a team consisting of the elites among intermediate magicians would be wiped out too. The whole place is filled with undead. The rain has cut off the route we're taking. We have nowhere to run to either. It will only be a matter of time until we're caught. It's almost dawn. Let's hold them off until then, said Mo Fan. Meng shared the same thought as Mo Fan. Running was meaningless in a situation like this. Not only was the giant corpse general enormous, its speed was incredible, too. A single roar would attract the undead in the surroundings to intercept them. There was no way they could possibly escape from the creature. The only choice was to eliminate the giant corpse general before a vast number of undead arrived. Lu Ru, lure the zombies in that direction away, said Mo Fan to Lu Ru after casting a glance in a certain direction in the rain. Lu Ru nodded. She quickly disappeared into the rain. Can she handle it? Said the muscular man in astonishment when he saw the seemingly weak woman charging in the direction of the undead by herself. Don't worry, she's not as weak as you have imagined, said Mo Fan. It was likely that Lu Ru's current strength was stronger than the vampire Ni Dong. When she had first turned into a vampire, she was able to inflict serious damage to Ni Dong. Now that she had gotten used to the power, these zombies stood no chance against her. Besides, even if she were overwhelmed by the zombies, the undead would stop attacking her once she withdrew her presence. Strictly speaking, the breath she exhaled was not living, either. Come keep me company. The hatchet corpse general's hideous face twisted. The words it uttered sent a chill down everyone's spine. The cold rain poured down heavily. The giant corpse general swung its hatchets wildly at Mo Fan and Meng with pure brute force. The creature was not relying on the hatchet's sharpness to murder its target, but simply using their weight to crush its prey. Fleeing shadow! Fleeing shadow! Mo Fan uttered the chant of the spell. His figure blended with the shadow and sank into the ground in the rain, and quickly moved over 20 meters away. Similarly, Meng also possessed the shadow element. Her fleeing shadow was third tier, hence her speed was slightly slower than Mo Fan's, and the spell did not summon two shadows. After creating some distance from the hatchet corpse general, Mo Fan glanced at Meng and could only see her blurry gorgeous face in the rain. Try and control its movement with giant shadow spike, I'll attract its attention. Meng nodded. Her glamorous figure vanished into thin air once again. Lightning strike. Mo Fan instantly cast the basic lightning spell. The fourth tier lightning strike produced several lightning eels close to the target, while the rain conducted the electricity too, resulting in a succession of crackling noises. Mo Fan controlled the lightning strike and created an electric field in the direction the hatchet corpse general was heading. The space-shaking effect of the purple-black lightning flickers spread the lightning arcs even further. The hatchet corpse general was just about to lunge at Mo Fan when it set its foot into the electric field. Its soaking wet body helped to conduct the electricity into it. Unfortunately, the bones and muscles of undead were dead to begin with. On top of that, the hatchet corpse general had fairly thick and sturdy skin. The paralyzing effect was not effective enough to immobilize the creature, it only slowed it down. The hatchet corpse general was fairly invulnerable. Even a fourth-tier basic spell was nowhere near enough to stop it. It charged at Mo Fan wildly after receiving the lightning strike, swinging the giant hatchets like a meat lawnmower. Blood tabby. Mo Fan did not preserve his strength. He used his boot equipment straight away. Accumulating the force under the feet, Mo Fan leapt sideways into the air over 10 meters away, dodging the giant corpse general's tank-like charge. However, as soon as Mo Fan landed on the ground, the hatchet corpse general had already recovered from its momentum and arrived before him. It lashed out with the 4 hatchets. Mo Fan was astounded by the corpse general's speed. As Shorty mentioned, even a team of intermediate magicians was not enough to take the creature down. Luckily Mo Fan was prepared for it, as the place he landed was dark enough for him to cast the fleeing shadow. As soon as the corpse general swung its hatchets down, Mo Fan sank into the ground in the form of a shadow. The shadow quickly split into 2. One of them moved into the distance like a black stray cat running past at night. The giant corpse general quickly assumed the human was trying to run away as soon as it saw the shadow moving away quickly. It started running after the shadow before its swinging arms came to a stop, and proceeded to smash the shadow into pieces a few seconds later. This giant corpse general is most likely stronger than the pseudomorphing demon beast. Mo Fan came out from the shadow and fixed his eyes on the giant corpse general. Warrior-level creatures could be further categorized into different levels. Back then, the group had consisted of students who were all intermediate magicians, yet they were almost wiped out by the traps set up by the pseudomorphing demon beast in the abandoned Jinlin city. In comparison, the giant corpse general was even stronger than the pseudomorphing demon beast that relied on traps to hunt its prey. Its fighting capacity was shocking. Even experienced hunters were no match for it.